The end of the Cold War in 1991 marked not just the Soviet Union's collapse, but the dawn of a new era, the unipolar moment. The United States emerged as the world's sole superpower, setting the global agenda for nearly 2 decades. Its influence, military, economic, and cultural, was unmatched, and it led institutions like the World Bank and IMF. The global order built on liberal internationalism promoted democracy and free markets but was largely designed by and for the West. Developing nations often found themselves on the periphery, their needs secondary. Yet beneath this American-led stability, change was brewing. Globalization and open trade, championed by the US, began shifting the balance of power. Emerging economies in Asia, Latin America, and Africa grew rapidly, lifting millions from poverty and building new confidence. These nations were no longer content to be passive participants in a system they didn't create. The unipolar moment contained the seeds of its own end, not because US power declined, but because others rose. This rise of the rest wasn't a threat, but a profound change in the international system's character. The world was becoming more complex and less hierarchical. The certainties of the post-Cold War era faded, making way for a new multipolar chapter in world history. The stage was set for a global order defined by many powers, not just one. Globalization connected the world like never before, creating vast new markets and opportunities. Countries like China and India leveraged reforms and population to become economic giants, fueling a new middle class and urban growth. As these nations grew wealthier, they demanded a greater voice in global affairs, questioning a system dominated by the West. The G7 seemed out of step as the world's economic center shifted east and south. Frustration grew among rising powers, especially after the 2008 financial crisis exposed vulnerabilities in the Western-led order. The crisis, starting in the US, damaged Western credibility and accelerated calls for a more balanced global system. New alliances began to form, not to overthrow the order, but to reform it and claim a rightful place within it. The rise of the rest was a broad trend, not a coordinated movement. These powers sought a world where rules were made by all, not just a few. Their quest for a multipolar world soon found its most prominent expression in a new grouping, BRICS. The global order was about to change. BRIC began as an investment acronym in 2001, grouping Brazil, Russia, India, and China as fast-growing economies. But these countries saw a shared status as underrepresented rising powers. In 2009, their leaders held the first summit, turning BRIC into a political reality. South Africa joined in 2010, making it BRICS and adding an African dimension. For years, BRICS promoted cooperation and called for global governance reform. As more countries in the global south rose, BRICS expanded. In 2024, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE joined, followed by Indonesia in 2025, forming a bloc of 10. The group introduced BRICS Plus, a 2-tiered structure allowing partner countries like Nigeria and Vietnam to engage without full membership. With over 40 nations interested, BRICS Plus now represents nearly half the world's population and a third of the global economy. Including major energy producers, the bloc wields significant influence over global markets. BRICS Plus has evolved from an acronym to a global powerhouse, reshaping international relations. The rise of BRICS Plus marks a profound shift in world power. BRICS Plus aims to build a fairer global financial system, challenging the Western-dominated IMF and World Bank. These institutions, often criticized for imposing harsh conditions, failed to reflect new economic realities. In response, BRICS created the New Development Bank in 2015, funding infrastructure and development without political strings. The NDB's focus on local currency lending helps shield members from dollar volatility. Alongside, the contingent reserve arrangement offers a $100 billion safety net, serving as an alternative to the IMF. These moves are part of a broader push for de-dollarization, reducing reliance on the US dollar and Western sanctions. BRICS Plus also calls for UN reform, especially a more representative Security Council. The bloc champions sovereignty, non-interference, and a multipolar system. By building their own institutions, BRICS Plus isn't just asking for a seat at the table, they're building a new one. Their efforts reflect a drive for a more balanced, diverse world order. The Global South now has a collective voice. BRICS Plus is a coalition of diverse nations, not a unified bloc. Decisions require consensus, moderating any single country's influence but sometimes slowing progress. Russia and Iran use BRICS Plus to counter US hegemony and sanctions, while Brazil, India, and the UAE seek strategic diversification, not confrontation. China and India, despite rivalry, find common ground in reforming the global order. India works to ensure BRICS Plus isn't dominated by China, maintaining its own autonomy. New members like Egypt and Ethiopia seek development finance and regional influence. The UAE aims to diversify partnerships. BRICS Plus is unlikely to become a military alliance. Its unity is rooted in a shared desire for a fairer global order. Its success depends on managing internal differences and focusing on economic and developmental goals. The rise of BRICS Plus signals the decline of Western dominance, though the US remains powerful. The world is no longer unipolar. Countries in the global south now have more options. Western policymakers must adapt, recognizing the legitimate grievances of developing nations. Dismissing BRICS Plus as merely anti-Western misses its genuine appeal: multipolarity, sovereignty, and a greater voice for the global south. The West's response will shape the future. Confrontation could backfire, while engagement and reform could foster stability. Reforming institutions like the IMF, World Bank, and UN Security Council is essential. The post-American era isn't a world without America, but one where its power is balanced by others. Influence must now be earned, not assumed. The West must compete with BRICS Plus by proving its model can still deliver prosperity and security. The challenge is to navigate multipolarity, building partnerships and finding common ground. The global landscape is more crowded and complex than ever. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in international relations. The unipolar moment is over, and multipolarity has arrived. BRICS Plus is at the forefront, giving a unified voice to countries long marginalized in global affairs. Its success could unlock economic potential and foster a more balanced world order. Yet challenges remain, managing internal differences and proving its institutions' effectiveness. The West's response is crucial. Seeing BRICS Plus as a threat could fragment the world, but constructive engagement offers hope. The future global system should be based on balance and shared solutions to challenges like climate change and instability. The 21st century will be complex and dynamic, shaped by many powers and perspectives. BRICS Plus marks the end of Western dominance and the start of a truly global era. The challenge for all is to manage this transition peacefully and build an inclusive, resilient international order.